Not much what I'm doing sitting down like this. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday. This is a long-running tradition that a number of the smaller YouTube cooking channels have been doing for the past several years. Basically, on Wednesdays, we all throw ourselves a video with cast iron in it. Because it gives us an excuse to have fun cooking or talking about or cleaning cast iron. Because, well, what can I say? Cast iron is, as far as I'm concerned, the best cookware in the world, and I'm more than happy to have any excuse to use it. And I can think that a lot of other people probably feel the same way because Cast Iron Wednesday has been going on for quite a while. I am getting close to the 4-year mark, in fact, of doing these live videos somehow. In that that will happen, in fact, this coming August. So we're talking only about 3 more months. Oh man, boy, does time ever fly. But I've really enjoyed doing this live each Wednesday or almost every Wednesday. Largely because of all the people who have been kind enough to show up here on my channel. I mean, thank you very much to everybody who's been kind enough to subscribe to my channel and who regularly come by here for our chats here on Wednesday evenings. Because there are quite a few names that I certainly do recognize here when we get started here each Wednesday. I mean, I could say hi, for instance, to Pip Gorn, and hello to Cynthia Wesley, Pat Z, and hello William Hurt. Thank you once again for the for the chaos needles, let's call it. And hello as well to Jen Beltran. Welcome to this channel. I can only hope you enjoy yourself. I do my best to entertain when I do these videos here on Wednesday. And Rocket Caver and Jose Latias. Hi, it's been a while. And Rich Qualls and Betts. And hello, Betts. And Sydney Fairbairn. And hello, Terry Sinchep as well. And Corey Clark. A few new names tonight that I'm very glad to see. I always love saying hi to new people. So thank you very much for coming to this channel where, as you can see, I'm going to be talking about my booty tonight. No, not that kind of booty. Don't worry. This is not that kind of a channel. But rather, I am in fact talking about loot. Namely, the loot that I managed to gather over the past week on my trip to the National Cornbread Festival. This, of course, is the annual festival thrown each year at the end of April by Lodge Cast Iron in their hometown of South Pittsburgh, Tennessee. And fool that I am, it's been several years, in fact, since I've gone, but last week I actually did it. I made the 16 or 1700 mile round trip here from New York all the way down to southern Tennessee. That's a little more than 800 miles each way. And somehow I managed to survive. I saw a lot of great sights, and the festival is really a lot of fun. I don't know if the festival itself is worth traveling 800 miles, but that was only because I was having an excuse really to go on a road trip. But it's certainly worth it to get there with all the food and all the people and the music, and of course the cast iron. In that I was browsing through antique malls all the way there and back, and really, I didn't get anything from the antique malls, even though I saw some really good sights, including some things that I were very strongly tempted on. And yet I still ended up with another boatload of cast iron. It seems to happen just every time I go to the National Cornbread Festival. I just can't help succumbing to temptation. And hello, Rick Stumbow as well. Yeah, and Tick's really, oh, you're talking about your clock. Yeah, congratulations on that clock as well. But here, as I mentioned, I ended up picking up some new cast irons, some of which I was absolutely stunned to be able to discover. And that's why I guess I should start off with probably the most amazing score I've had in at least the last year. And I still can't believe I managed to get this. And I should mention as well, this is courtesy of the Facebook meet and greet that was held last Saturday evening, and that a lot of people from the Facebook cast iron community were kind enough to come to the festival and show up there at in a hotel parking lot on Saturday evening rather, where we all said hi to each other, in person instead of on Facebook. And a number of us brought along our toys to show off because, well, that's what we wanted to do. Some of us did some trading and some of us did some selling. And this is why I absolutely am stunned and will probably be stunned for the rest of my life at this. Those of you who know anything about vintage cast iron know why I'm so excited about this, because yes, indeed, this is a Lodge lid, all right, but this is a Lodge Arc logo lid, which indicates right there that this is over 100 years old. And as such, that in itself makes it definitely a very special piece of Lodge cast iron. Not to mention the really amazing and unusual design of this lid, especially the handle, which I don't think anybody has ever done since Lodge did it in those days here. This is quite the handle on this lid, isn't it? This is all in one piece, by the way. This entire thing was molded in one piece, or maybe while the iron was still hot, maybe they stuck this extra piece into these holes here and let the iron cool and seal that way. I'm not that familiar with their process, but that doesn't seem unreasonable, because if you look on the bottom of the lid, you've got all the basting spikes, which have been typical of Lodge for their entire for their entire lifetime, rather. However, there is no sign whatsoever of any markings from this handle. So it's not like they drove screws in on this side or anything at all that indicates that, as I said, that they put anything at all through this lid in order to put this. So either it was cast all in one piece, which would have been incredible, or the more I think of it, it's probably more likely that they just did that. While the iron was still hot and molten, they probably took the second piece and simply stuck it in there for it to cool off. But yeah, look at this. It even has a raised number 8 on the lid. So, and in case you're wondering, yes, in fact, it is still the same size number 8 that Lodge has been making for their entire lifespan. Let me pull a piece off of my rack right now. Let's see. Here is the 2018 Made in America skillet that Lodge, did that year. It is, of course, a 10-inch skillet, and here's the vintage lid. And as you can see, I'm not sure if you could call it absolutely perfect, but it definitely fits. And you would definitely have an airtight lid seal if you were to cook in this. So this is really, and you better believe that's exactly what I'm going to be doing with this lid. This is something that I can guarantee you're going to see a lot of this vintage lid in future videos, because I definitely intend to get a lot of use out of this. So yeah, thank you very much for to the person who was kind enough to sell this to me at the meet and greet last Saturday. And yes, I've already forgotten the name. I am terrible at remembering names. Even though I recognize names here on my chat, it's like matching names to faces is just something that is really, really difficult. So if you want to remind me who you are, please do, and I will be very grateful. But I am especially grateful for this amazing lid here. And that's only the start of the things that we have to talk about here. The lid to the right of the screen looks like a sand dollar. Oh yes, you're talking about this other piece. This one I actually bought at the Lodge factory store. And this is something I've had my eye on for quite a while. And this was definitely an excuse to get it. This is, in fact, the Lodge smoker skillet, because yes, you see these slits here in the lid. Well, get this. There are also slits in the pan too. So this is a number 3 size, typical 6-inch Lodge skillet. However, in this case, it was probably molded like this. I don't think they actually drilled holes in the pan. It was probably molded like this, and it's designed to do just that, to do smoking right in your oven. In that you can preheat this lid and this pan and the lid to a decent temperature, 300 to 400 degrees. And then you take your wood chips and you put them in there. I'm not sure. I still have to look up the directions as to whether or not you need to actually use a fire to set these, or if you just simply use that hot lid to, this hot metal to start smoking it. But yeah, once you have this thing ignited, you put this back in your oven, and you can smoke whatever you are cooking in the oven. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to using this too. This was one of the many things, of course, they had there at the Lodge Factory store. And those of you who have been to the Lodge Factory store know just what an incredible place that is. If you are if you're a cast iron user of any kind. So yeah, cast iron with honey badger. I use my smoking skillet to smoke veggies on the grill. Nice. And so yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Well, the smoker is available, of course, from Lodge's website. But as I said, I made sure to get that in person, to avoid the shipping costs, because that is, that is just how it is. For the record, although as I said as well, this is the monthly Q&A session here. In that we've kind of made it a tradition for the first Wednesday of the month to be basically one where you throw questions at me, and I do my best to try to answer them, and you can answer them as well. So feel free to ask pretty much anything you want about all of these pans, or in fact all of these pans, or really any cast iron subject that that you want to talk about, because that's especially what this night is for. Terry Sinchep, when using that smoking skillet, remember to take the batteries out of the detector. Oh, gee, Terry, I have no idea what you're talking about. Since when has my smoke detector ever gone off in my kitchen? So, Amish visit. Amish visit. I'm not sure if that was me that you're talking about, Rich, because I don't remember going anyplace specifically Amish. I did visit the Utz potato chip factory in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure if that's what you mean about Amish. Um, oh yeah, yeah. Picture of me and CIF. Oh yeah, of Jeff Rogers. Well, yeah, Jeff has been a friend of mine for more than 10 years. We've known each other on Facebook for longer than that, and he was the first Facebook person I was kind enough to meet, or he was kind enough to meet, rather, me at the National Cornbread Festival way back in 2015. In fact, that was the first time we actually met at the Cornbread Festival. I met him and his family, and they have gone. And Jeff goes to the festival every year. In fact, here's yet another piece that I am not going to forget. And this is the 2015 Cracker Barrel cast iron skillet. Their American seal skillet with the seal, the great seal of the United States on it. This was made in 2015, and this, in fact, was a gift given to me by Jeff Rogers that year. He gave that to me as a gift at the Cornbread Festival, and I was very, very grateful for that. So yeah, I am definitely going to be keeping this pan for the rest of my life, not just because it is a really, really nice design on it, but also because it is, as I said, it was a gift, and it is definitely something special. And yes, those of you who know this also know that last year Cracker Barrel released the same thing in a 12-inch size. I did not get it because, well, I already have this design here, and I already have a couple of 12-inch skillets too. So, so yeah, I mean, that at least I could definitely say made it easy for me to say no to the Cracker Barrel skillet last year. And yet here I am talking about resisting temptation, whereas on my way down, it seems like I couldn't resist temptation again at Cracker Barrel, and I ended up picking this one up, even though I really don't even think I'm going to be using it, because here it is, the Made in America skillet that from Cracker Barrel this year, which, if you'll notice, is the first Cracker Barrel skillet to prominently have the Lodge logo on it. This is almost certainly, oh dear, I only just noticed this has a pinhole on it. Technically, two pinholes? Wow. Hmm. I didn't even notice that until just this very moment here. So, technically, this could even be a large seconds pan. Well, that's all right. The seconds pan have nothing, are just work just fine here. But still, this in fact, um, as I mentioned before already, is that this is basically the Made in America skillet that Lodge released about 3 years ago. And in fact, they still sell it they sold it right there at their factory store, right next to the Rosie the Riveter skillet, in fact. So, however, for Cracker Barrel, they did change the font design of the Made in America logo slightly. And thinking it over, I think that might actually be a bit of an improvement, at least aesthetically, or at least I think so. So, as such, if you don't already have a Made in America cast iron skillet, this would not be a bad one to get, especially since you can get it at Cracker Barrel and you don't have to pay the shipping cost for ordering it off of Lodge's website. But even so, I got this, even though I have like about 15 number 8 skillets. And I really, uh, it's like more like because I succumbed to temptation than anything else. So I more or less decided that I think I'm going to simply keep this as is for about a year. And then next year, I might very well do a giveaway and give this away as a prize or maybe sell it. I don't know yet. We'll know what happens next year. But still, because, next year, because these things are almost always sold out by the 4th of July. So after that, some of them have become collector's items already, like the Walking Liberty coin skillet, for instance. So who knows? Next year, as I said, I will arrange in some way or another to give the skillet away, and I'm actually going to be looking forward to that. So we've only just begun talking here, haven't we? Oh yeah, I want the 12-inch Great Seal skillet. Can't even find one on eBay. I guess that's a good sign that people like the design of that. So that's actually that's actually a good to hear. And I guess Rocket Caver, I can only say good luck on the hunt. That smoking skillet is not for indoors, says Corey Clark. To which point Cynthia Wesley says he'll find that out fast. Yeah, I suspect I will. We'll see what happens then. Right, I've worked in the area, Rick. Great Seal, I meant, yes, and everything else. Yeah. We're getting ready for another washout too. Oh, you're talking about rain, I guess. Well, I'm sorry to hear about that. It's actually, yeah, Pyrex bowls are popular now. So is Lodge making them too. I have not seen any sign of Lodge doing glassware or enamelware. Well, no. They're definitely doing enamelware, but I'm doing glassware or bowls or anything like that. For instance, they do sell glass lids for their skillets, but I am about 100% positive that those are actually made by a third party and for Lodge. So I'm because if I mean consider the effort that it would take to build a whole new either foundry or the proper machinery or whatever it is to do glass blowing and glass manufacturing. So you can bet that if they do any kind of expansion into things like glassware, that they would produce a large line of those kind of things, which is also why, of course, they're putting a lot of promotion into their USA enameled cast iron pans because they built themselves a whole new enamel foundry, especially for making enamelware. So in fact, I asked them myself this weekend, and I did a short video on it. If they plan on doing any other enameled pans besides the one they have already released for their USA enamel line, and they said, "Well, we're considering it," which I suspect is probably going to be yes. So what we will see from the USA enamel line, I'm not sure. I don't think they're going to do full enamel dishes themselves because I think that would require a completely different or an expansion or something of their existing equipment. And since they've just constructed it and put it into use, more likely we're going to be seeing a lot more enamel coated things, like probably enameled skillets, for instance. That's that's certainly one possibility. So, buy old Pyrex, not the new Pyrex. Evidently, the new is different glass and breaks when you take it out of the oven. So I've heard. Um, I've heard about that. I was told Pyrex glass is more valuable and better quality if the Pyrex font is in all caps. Lowercase font is made with less quality glass. Anyone know if that is true? I have not yet done real research into that. I have heard that Pyrex did change their formula recently, but it's entirely possible that they may have been forced to do that, kind of like the way Rubbermaid was forced to change their product, especially to satisfy Walmart. The story of how Rubbermaid was almost forced into bankruptcy by Walmart is pretty well known. Essentially, Walmart, because Walmart has such clout, they went to Rubbermaid went to Walmart to try to sell their product in Walmart. And Walmart said, "Well, we're going to sell it at such and such a price, and you are going to sell us this at such and such a price." And Rubbermaid said, "We can't meet that price. That exceeds our cost of production. We would be at a loss if we produced it for you." And rubber and so Walmart said, "Well, tough. You're going to sell it to us at this price, or we're not going to sell your product in our stores." Rubbermaid tried to hold out for a while, but believe me, without the exposure needed from selling at Walmart, especially since Walmart has their own brand of plasticware, as you know, the Sterilite brand. Rubbermaid soon found themselves approaching bankruptcy. So they finally caved into Walmart, and they did that by opening a separate uh, plant in Asia, especially to produce their plastic much cheaper. And I know there are other companies that have had to do that to meet the market demands today. So if in fact Pyrex changed their formula, that may very well be a reason. So if I'm speaking in defense of Pyrex, I guess you could say that. Anyway, Corey Clark, I was lucky enough to get my mother's Pyrex collection and her two cast iron skillets. Well, that's nice and good. Yeah. Tell us what kind of skillets they are. Walmart and Amazon don't get along. No, they don't. Thank goodness for that, because competition in the marketplace is good for us, the consumer. We all know that all too well, that monopolies pretty much mean higher prices for us. Look at the cable company, for instance. The town I'm in here in the Binghamton area, for instance, actually signed an exclusive deal with who is it? Spectrum, for high-speed internet. So that means if I wanted high-speed internet here in my town, I had to go with Spectrum or nobody. So I had to go with Spectrum. And those of you who have Spectrum's internet, well, yeah, you know how it is. I'm still glad I can actually get some kind of streaming from that. Anyway, Huey and Castor and Kev, do you have an omelet skillet? They're usually small with angled sides. Oh, yeah, those are very useful. Although I think the omelet skillets usually have the rounded sides as opposed to that. I did score the 2024 Heritage Flag Skillet Saturday. Looks like the 2019. Um, the 2019, Heritage Flag. Oh, if you're talking about the Cracker Barrel, I'm trying to remember what the 2019 was. I'd actually have to look that up. Unmarked, number 5, Wagner, and number 8, small logo, Griswold 704. Nice. Pyrex is the true borosilicate glass maker, while Pyrex is the company which bought out the rights to the name. From what I know, the original company no longer exists, but the modern is still being sold. Well, that's actually sad, Louis J. I'm sorry to hear that, but if it's the truth, well, then it's the truth. I guess you solved your computer trouble? No, actually, they haven't even looked at my computer. It's still in the shop after 2 days. So I'm kind of frustrated about that. However, I do my streaming on a separate laptop, fortunately. So even though my video editing software is all on my desktop computer, at least I can do my streaming here with no interruption. We might be neighbors on the side. Yeah, 3.5 inches of rain on Monday. Ouch. Sorry to hear that. And hello, Rick Stumbaugh as well. Anyway, so far we've gotten as far as I've mentioned, two or three cast iron pans, but there are a couple of others as well. Yeah, as I said, I succumbed to temptation when I went into Cracker Barrel, and I'm not sure if I regret it or not because that Made in America skillet is a nice one, and furthermore, I found a couple of other items on their discount shelf. I mean, and I was surprised to see these at a 70% discount. That, for instance, is really about the only reason why I got the 6-inch Lodge. It's a Lodge Yellowstone skillet with a very highly raised Yellowstone logo on the inside of the pan. So, that means if you were to make pancakes or omelets or something with this, you would definitely, when you turn it out, or even cornbread, if you turn it out, you would unquestionably have the Yellowstone logo on it. So that's pretty interesting. So, and what's more, this had, and I still have the price sticker on it, as you can see. It has a price of $15.99 full sale. Yet I got this for $5. So I figured it would be worth it for that price. And again, I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I might sell it because if I even sell it for $10, well, there you go. I get double my money back. So that in itself might be a deal, especially since I understand Yellowstone is a pretty popular series. I've never watched it. As I said, that's the only reason why I got this was because of the bargain price. But still, it is a nice large 6-inch skillet. On the other hand, we've seen this one for the past couple of years, usually at Christmas. That's why I was also surprised to see the SpongeBob skillet, or as somebody called it, and kudos to him, SpongeBob Square Pan. So yes, this was on sale at Cracker Barrel for $2.70. So yeah, that's why I definitely picked this up. I might just simply hold this in the box until Christmas because there we go, bam, Christmas present. I mean, what were they selling this for last year? There's no price sticker on this, but what were they selling this for? Wherever they were selling this, Big Lots last year, were they selling this for $10? Were they selling this for $12? So yeah, under $3. So what can I say? I succumbed to temptation, which means I'm going to have to put these things into storage until I can finally get a use for them. So that was Cracker Barrel. And yes, I definitely succumbed to temptation. What can I say? I have the yellow. Why not make pancakes in that pan? Yuck, yuck, yuck. So anyway, yeah, those are some of there. I'm still not quite done because there's one other one that this one I definitely plan to get, and I am very, very glad, and I am going to be using this one too. This is Lodge designed a real beauty here because when they opened up their museum of cast iron, here's what they made for it: the Lodge Museum of um, uh, Cast Iron skillet. And get this, I mean, besides the fact that it's got the Museum of Cast Iron logo on it, it's a hammered pan. The first hammered pan that Lodge has made in what, decades? They're obviously doing this as a tribute to all of their history because not only is it a hammered pan, they've got 3 notches on the heat ring. Although, interestingly enough, you'd have to hold it this way for it to be at the 3, 9, and 12-inch mark. So yeah, it actually has the original Lodge hammered design on it. So yeah, even though it's me coming to temptation, I planned on getting this one when I went out there. I certainly did not want to miss it. And I heard a rumor, which may or may not be true, that the original run of these hammered skillets is the only one that Lodge has planned to do. When they run out of this museum skillet, supposedly it's going to be gone. Maybe they'll design a different skillet then, perhaps. But nonetheless, in other words, this is, well, obviously, I presume it's going to be a collector's item, but I did not get it because it's going to be a collector's item. I got it because I wanted it. One other thing about this that's also nod to history. This is not an 8-inch skillet. Here's an 8-inch skillet. Here is the 20th anniversary National Cornbread skillet, in fact. And you can see this is quite bigger than an 8-inch skillet. In fact, you know what size this is? Ugh. It's not an 8-inch. It's not a 10-inch. It's 5 and it's not an 8. It's a number 6 size. Yeah, the unusual size that Lodge had produced over the years. And oh, is the seasoning coming off on it? No, that's not seasoning. That's actually okay. I can see that's just from the last time I cooked with it. But anyway, here's a vintage number 6 size Lodge cast iron skillet, 3 notches in all. And this is the exact size as the number 6. Exact, all the way down to the handle. This is definitely, they definitely took their number 6 mold or pattern and used it to make this museum skillet. As you can see, I'm comparing it to the number 6 skillet, and it is the exact size. Number 6 was always an unusual size for Lodge. I shouldn't say rare, but it was definitely out of the ordinary. And so, yeah, here is, in fact, their latest and possibly the first number 6 skillet they've made in decades. Definitely their first hammered skillet they've made in decades. So, yes, this is, in fact, the Lodge Museum of Cast Iron Skillet. And boy, am I glad that I picked this up. As I said, I wanted it because it was just that. I'm glad to have it. And yes, I'm going to use it too. I've said enough times I don't want my users to be just display pieces. I'm sorry, my cast iron to be display pieces. I want to use them. Well, one thing about the number 6 size pan, it's 9 inches in size. That makes it a perfect pie plate. So yeah, at some point or another, I will definitely use this for making a pie, as well as all of the other great uses you can get from a cast iron skillet. So I am quite happy with that. And let me see about what comments we might have already. Howdy, bees and B's and G's. Running late tonight. Kiddo at graduation for her GED. Well, so congratulations, Black Cats Rule. As well, Val's Black Cats Rules. And Hog Wild Cast Iron Restoration. Nice to see you. Scrubbing pans before the storm hits. Yeah, exactly. More magic in them orphans than in the purebreds. Okay, unfortunately, you can't order it from them. Oh, really? Can't order it from them? Which one are you talking about? Oh, are you talking about the museum skillet? So you're saying you cannot order it online? Well, that's actually interesting. In that case, somebody's going to have to make a trip to the Lodge Museum, especially to get that skillet for somebody here. It's not going to be me. I just finished a 1,600-mile round trip, but surely there are some people in the area who might be able to help you out. Jose Latias, I still have my hammered skillets. Oh, yeah, I remember those, the ugly hammered ones. Well, I'm glad you like them, and I'm hoping that you're getting some good use out of them, too. Lodge's cast iron IRL, Honey Badger. Lodge's second section is amazing. Did you get a 2024 cornbread skillet? I had to break a bolt loose for my neighbor changing his oil, missed some of the show. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. Yes, I went to the second section. I got an 8-inch skillet in their second section, especially because one of my friends asked for one. She wanted me to specifically get her a smaller cast iron skillet. She has a 10-inch skillet. She wanted a smaller one. So I went to the second section and got an 8-inch number 5 skillet. And I already gave that to her yesterday. But I can always show off the 20th anniversary number 5 skillet, because that's basically, this is in fact the same size. However, I did not get a 2024 National Cornbread skillet. Why not? Get this. Because this year, the 2024 National Cornbread skillet is a 10-inch skillet, a number 8 size skillet. And yet it was still selling at the same price, I think, that they've been selling it for the last few years. It was 20 bucks at the festival. 20 bucks for a nice souvenir 10-inch cast iron skillet, especially since these days at Walmart they're selling a 10-inch. The 10-inch skillet goes for like 20 bucks. So that would have been a good deal. But why didn't I get it? Because how many number 8 skillets do I have already? I need another 10-inch skillet like I need a hole in the head. Yeah, says the guy who already admits to buying the Cracker Barrel 10-inch skillet. Okay, yeah, I know. I succumbed to temptation with the Cracker Barrel skillet. And I have not been collecting all of the cornbread festival skillets. In fact, I had a couple of other cornbread skillets, and I ended up selling them a few years ago. I am keeping the 20th anniversary skillet because it was the 20th anniversary, and I was there, and it was nice to be there for that. I do know they've since done a 25th anniversary skillet, and for those of you who have a 25th anniversary, well, good. Years like that does make it a special collector's item. But I do not regret passing on the number 8 or the 10-inch 2024 Cornbread Festival. Those of you who have a Cornbread Festival skillet are probably feeling the exact opposite because you've got yourself an awesome 10-inch large cast iron skillet. Get some use out of it. I do have one other 10-inch skillet that I still have to talk about. And I think I'm just about done talking about my cast iron. Oh, yeah, no, here's one thing. Here's a mistake that I made from the Cornbread Festival. And I think this is the last one. I didn't even show it in my photos. This is another thing I bought at the in the second section. A large, deep 10-inch Dutch oven, which is fantastic, right? I know. Hey, yeah, no, this is a great Dutch oven. Yes, it is. My first Dutch oven was, in fact, exactly one of these, the large 10-inch. However, I made a mistake by getting this. Why? Because, well, really, because of this, because of the 10-inch, because of the vintage ARC logo lid. You see, it's like this. I got this on Saturday night and I was thrilled. And then afterwards, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I've got 3 large number 8 lids now. And I don't need 3 number 8 large lids. So what am I going to do? Well, I think I will sell one of those lids. I had, correction, I had a modern day large 10-inch lid, 10-inch lid. Now, you're not going to get a lot of money for a modern day large 10-inch lid. In fact, I bought that 10-inch lid for $5 at a yard sale. So I'm thinking, you know what? I'm here by the second section. What if I got an relatively inexpensive Dutch oven so that you could sell that lid and the Dutch oven, and I could probably sell the combination for, I don't know, $30 or so. And so I went and got this. And when I went back home, I looked for my modern day 10-inch lid. I couldn't find it. And I just realized I had completely forgotten. I sold that 10-inch lid last year at a flea market. I set up a flea market stand last year to get rid of some of my extra cast iron. And that was when I sold that large 10-inch lid. Ugh. I mean, I have a vintage large lid. I have a large lid right here, in fact, which does not have the large logo on it, and it has the 10 and a quarter and the number 8 size on it. I'm not going to sell this. I use this lid, but I had forgotten that I had sold that other lid. So now, as a result, I had bought this to go with that lid, and I didn't have it. So I really should not have bought this. I shouldn't have done it. I didn't have a need to. But now I've got it, so I'm going to have to figure out what to do with this. So yeah, this was the one real mistake I made at the Cornbread Festival. I am not regretting anything else. I am not regretting getting the Cracker Barrel USA skillet because, as I said, in a year, I will take care of that. I'll give it away or sell it. I am not regretting getting the SpongeBob skillet for less than $3, the Yellowstone skillet for only $5, and I am definitely not regretting the Museum of Cast Iron skillet. So yeah, I'm gonna be using this. And I'm gonna do something with these two. Probably end up selling those two. So but that Dutch oven, yes, I regret getting it. All right. Anyway, your inventory is not registered properly in your head. Yeah, tell me about it, Jose Latios. That's my bad. And somebody commented on my cast ironitis video. If you use an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of your cast iron, you might have cast ironitis. Well, you know what? I might need to do that so that I don't make mistakes like this. I mean, I prided myself in having a good knowledge of my collection. I mean, I remember things like this. Like, as I said, I mean, I know, of course, I got this in person at the 20th anniversary at the 20th Cornbread Festival. This Lodge number 6 this Lodge number 6 skillet, I bought at a flea market in mid-state Massachusetts, a couple of towns over from Brimfield. That was the year I went out looking for a vintage Lodge skillet because I was doing a video and I needed a vintage Lodge skillet for it in particular. And I happened to stumble across a number 6, which I thought, great, okay. But see, I remember things like that. I'm proud of myself for being able to remember things like that. Or the fact that, let me choose another one here. This was a Brimfield find. This Wagner number 4, for instance. I know that I got it at Brimfield. I do not forget that. But yet I forgot that I sold that Lodge lid. So yes, that was still my mistake. Okay, I used to not remember until something comes up missing. Yes, exactly, Cynthia Wesley. That's exactly what happened to me. I use the memo app on my phone to keep track of what I have. Handy out in the stores. Jose Latias. I never expected to have 10 pieces of cast iron. I now have over 150 pieces, and I know I'll add a few more. Yep, that's cast ironitis, definitely. And I'm sure your family probably says that too. Your wok shovel. Did you say in your TikTok video you restored the shovel in your lye tank? What is your shovel made of? I'm positive that is a carbon steel wok shovel because it definitely can rust. It has rusted a couple of times already, and I've since been doing my best to take better care of it. So I would say that is a carbon steel one, especially since it was definitely made in Asia. And of course, carbon steel woks from Asia are the best woks in the world. So yeah, you can bet it's a carbon steel wok shovel to go with that carbon steel to go with their carbon steel woks. And by the way, I don't have a carbon steel wok because I've got a cast iron wok, which I think is also the best wok in the world. But we've gone over the differences between the Lodge cast iron wok and Asian light woks before. That'll be a subject for another time. Okay, but anyway, that is what the wok shovel is. I made my cast iron channel so my kids would know what my cast iron collection is and what the dates are. Yes, exactly, Honey Badger. Actually, if you've got a cast iron channel, I've got to subscribe to it. I didn't know you had that yet, so I'm definitely gonna have to subscribe to it. Can't Handsome Stone. Working on my bought for, sold for book, so if anything happens, wifey won't sell them for what I may have said I got them for. Oh, yeah, you heard that joke too, haven't you? Val, I guess they're here. That only that dang gone BSR number 6 Red Mountain. Ouch! Are you saying you had a chance to get a number 6 and you missed it? Oh, that hurts, Cynthia. Sorry to hear that. Tell your wife to sell her shoes. Just kidding. Let's see the wok. Um, the wok is actually on the stove and it needs to be cleaned right now because my guests used it to make a stir fry tonight. And that's perfectly fine. I've mentioned that I have house guests and I'm going to be having house guests for a while. And I told them outright that yes, they can use my cast iron. They do freely use my cast iron. And yes, they do clean it up too. It's only that we haven't had the chance to yet because I've been preparing for the live tonight. Anyway, you can look on my channel. You will see many videos of using the Lodge cast iron wok. So yeah, please put in the channel name so we can find it, Honey Badger. Yes, please do. I'm guessing I'm guessing it's simply your name there, the one that says cast iron with Honey Badger. How do we win tickets to be a house guest? Well, Rick, to be absolutely honest, you have to be a close personal friend for at least the past 15 years, and you have to have been here when I went through some pretty traumatic life drama that I don't talk about on the internet. So, so it's got to be really something special. Hi, I didn't know it was that rare. Number six Red Mountains. Well, yeah, actually, on the BSNR Facebook group, the good BSNR Facebook group, that is the one that I'm on with Jason Walker, and I know Cynthia's on that group as well. Um, for a long time, they weren't even sure that a number six Red Mountain existed. This was several years ago, though. Since then, there have been several of those specimens discovered. So, yeah, that Facebook group is responsible for uncovering a lot of knowledge. I owe that Facebook group an enormous debt for uncovering the knowledge that I've been able to use on my web page. So thank you very much. I have not stolen anything outright, I promise, but the knowledge is there, and I've done my best to make use of it. All right, you met Dubs. Oh, that's traumatic. Okay, no, I'm not saying anything there. Okay, no touching the cast iron. I thought about breaking fingers for that. Yeah, I did a short video about that. One of my cast ironitis videos as well. Here is a good deal for you, Rick D. You feed the bears one time, and I'll have you over for a month to recover your food bill. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, however, we are getting late here already because there is one other thing. There's one other piece of cast iron that I've acquired recently, not at the festival. However, those of you who have been watching my channel know which one I'm talking about. I brought that cast iron piece to the festival anyway, and I showed it off in show and tell last Saturday. And yeah, I'm pleased to say some people were kind of impressed by that. It's not that I'm bragging, but I'm definitely glad to own that piece because yet again I succumbed to temptation. So what have I said enough times about all my pieces being users rather than just show pieces? Well, that's why I'm taking care of right now. Today is May Day, the feast of Walpurgisnacht and all of that. It's a special day. So for that, I decided to get out a special pan dedicated to the year 2024, and I removed the label from it. So there goes the collector's item. Yep, I'm talking about the Year of the Dragon skillet, the one that I managed to acquire from Taiwan of all places. So yes, that pan is right now at this moment heating up in the oven. In fact, it's definitely heated up in the oven, and because it hit 400 degrees before this thing started, so it's been like that for the last 3/4 of an hour. Because I very much intend on celebrating May Day today by using that by using that Year of the Dragon skillet. And in fact, I'm going to be doing that by using another piece of booty that I got at the Cornbread Festival. Cornbread mix, Lodge's newly released cornbread mix. I figured now would be a good time to show off that pan as well as to test out the Lodge cornbread mix. This particular one is the sweet as honey cornbread mix too. I mean, yeah, Lodge has several different selections for their cornbread mix, including an unsweetened southern cornbread. Don't worry, but they also have this one, sweet as honey. And the fact is, I'm a born and bred Yankee. There's no way around it. So yes, that means I like my cornbread with sugar. So yeah, okay, I can watch people turning off this channel right now when I say it. Yes, I make sugar. I make cornbread with sugar. And I had wanted to spend maybe the next few minutes or so putting together some cornbread here, so that we will have this ready when this live is over. So yeah, that's my link. Thank you for letting me share the channel. Yes, exactly. I'm more than happy for that. But anyway, here in Alabama, sweet cornbread is a rarity. Well, there we go. Then I'm going to be doing something out of the ordinary here. But I've got my setup right here. So that means let's quickly throw this together, because yeah, the nice thing is it's a pre-made cornbread mix, which really doesn't mean that much, because in fact I still have to add eggs, oil, and milk. But enough talking. Let's get started. This should be nice and quick anyway, because all I have to do is open up this cornbread mix and bam, here are our dry ingredients. Just enough to make one 10-inch pan of cornbread. The ingredients, oh boy, look at this. Look at this. Look at all this dust coming out of this. That's not smoke, that's just dust. Anyway, the instructions on this thing, by the way, I read them in advance. And if you're going to be doing this, you definitely need to do this too. It does mention from your kitchen, you need 3 eggs, you need some oil, and you need a cup of whole milk, which is what I did. So the instructions actually mentioned to preheat your cast iron skillet. Oh, made for your large 10 1/4 inch cast iron skillet. So yes, it definitely says to use a number 8 cast iron pan for this. All right. Preheat your cast iron skillet in a cold oven. Now place your cast iron skillet into a cold oven and preheat the oven to 400 degrees. I've already done that. Here we go. In a bowl, whisk together 3 large eggs, 1 cup of whole milk, and a 1/4 cup of canola oil. That's a separate bowl from this. Good thing I did my prep work. So, okay, yeah, that's right. 3 eggs. Here's 1, here's 2, and here comes 3. This is my first time doing this in the living room, by the way. I really hope I don't make a mess. Anyway, here's 1 egg, 2 eggs, did I just get some shell in there? I think I did. Oops. Okay, let's dig up that shell. Oh, yeah. Come on, come on, come on. Well, this is why I'm glad I did the eggs first. All right. Well, there's the shell, but now I do the extra. There it is. Okay. And good. The shell is still here. And finally, number 3. There we go. And no more shell. Yay. So I got 2 out of 3 without shell at least. So there we go. To this, we do, I forgot to pour the milk. Let me get the milk. Oh, and I noticed the instructions say milk. They don't say buttermilk. I'm hoping the dry mix also contains some buttermilk mix then. I didn't take a close look at the ingredients on this package, so I think I will do that as soon as this goes into the oven to see what's so special about this. Anyway, 1 cup of milk. Try not to spill it. I did pre-measure the oil though, so this is the only thing I forgot to do. 1 cup of milk. Oh, and by the way, this is an Anchor Hawking measuring cup, not a Pyrex cup. So I'm sure there are probably some things about Anchor Hawking going out there as well as Pyrex. Nonetheless, that, and here again, I don't want to spill it. 1/4 cup of canola oil. I used a 1/3 cup and did not fill it up all the way so that there would be room and be less likely for me to spill this thing. And it seems to have worked. And this is about all the hard work too. So let's whisk up our wet ingredients. The instructions specifically say, by the way, to add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. This is why I'm using a second bowl. I suppose most people who do this are probably just going to maybe pour the dry mix into this, or they might as well just put all of the wet ingredients into the bowl and mix it all together, and it'll work. But I did read some years ago some article that actually determined it is a little better to mix the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. And so that's why I tried to follow this recipe to the letter. Nonetheless, there we are. So this is oil. Um, Although actually, it just occurred to me as well, since I'm following this to the letter, I'm betting you could probably use butter rather than oil. And I'm sure there are a lot of folks who do that. But as I said, I am just trying to follow these instructions to the letter just because I'm trying to demonstrate the large cornbread mix and see if it's any good. Anyway, that's our wet ingredients. And then to this, we mix it into the dry ingredients. And in it goes. Uh, I'm used to making my cornbreads from scratch too, so I'm not really used to the dry mix. I have used Jiffy Mix. I don't use it very often. So anyway, obviously we've got to get it thoroughly mixed. I'm betting you could probably use a mixer here at this point. But on the other hand, there are probably folks who consider it sacrilege to use a mixer to mix their cornbread mix. Besides, this seems to be mixing together pretty well. Just a little bit more. I suppose I could even use the whisk for this, but I've gone this far. Anyway, there we go. Let's do a close up. In fact, if you'd like, I just hope I don't drop this. As I said, this is the large cornbread mix, and oh yeah, notice it doesn't say to add honey, so presumably there's dried honey in the dry mix as well as sugar. So yeah, there are definitely additional ingredients. I did not just buy a package of cornmeal, that's for sure. Anyway, there we go. And now for the next step. Here is where it says, oops, I got a little bit of wet on this. Don't want to spill it. Anyway, all right. Once the oven has reached 400 degrees, remove the hot skillet. Be careful. Spray skillet generously with non-stick cooking spray. It doesn't even say to use oil. It says non-stick cooking spray. And although I suppose we could use oil if we wanted to. Then add an additional 1 tablespoon of canola oil to the bottom of the skillet and swirl to coat. Well, that's interesting. I guess they're not taking any chances. They're saying to use non-stick spray and canola oil. Okay, didn't plan that. In that case, I better get my canola oil back out. And then from there, we pour the batter into the hot skillet and bake, for the usual, for 20 to 25 minutes. But okay, I said I was going to follow this to the letter. Give me a second, please, because I'm going to need a little bit more canola oil. I don't have a small container of canola oil with me at this time. I just have a large container that I have been working my way through. Anyway, now that we've done that, I think we better clear our workspace. So, and for that matter, I should put this milk back too. All right, run back to the fridge one more time. Yeah, wait a second. I don't have to do that because I have to go and get the pan out of the oven. So we'll make this a twofer trip. All right. On the other hand, I do have to move this out of the way so that I can put this aside. All right. So here's what I'm going to do next. I will put these things in the sink and then get that hot pan out of the oven. So here we go. Let's put all these away. These will go in the sink. Milk will go in the fridge. And then here we go. Hi, I'm bringing a 400-degree pan into the living room on the rug. I really better be careful. But here it comes. Ah, heat it up to 400 degrees here, and that means ow, 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 ow. No, I can't show the logo yet. Ow. Here's the Year of the Dragon skillet. All right. So from here, they said spray this with nonstick cooking spray. You know, I'm betting most of you are not going to take this step, and I fully understand because we know that what we're supposed to do is to add oil into the skillet and then put it back into the oven. But I guess they're just doing this for the lowest common denominator crowd, and I certainly understand that. So I am not going to dock them points for that. Holy cow. Non-stick cooking spray, yeah. Hello, lung cancer. I'm kidding. Okay, and we are only supposed to use about a tablespoon or so of canola oil. There we go. Then we swirl it around. This is like baker's goop. I mean, we're using not just that, but also this. All right. I notice it's already brown, so that's something. And now that we've done that, in goes our cornbread mix. Hey, it still sizzles at least. Sizzle was not loud, but it definitely sizzled because, as you know, if it doesn't sizzle, it's not cornbread or you're not doing it right. So that's something. So anyway, for folks who do use boxed cornbread mix, which is perfectly fine, by the way, I have no problem with people who use store-bought ingredients. There we go. So this is the Lodge cornbread mix. And now that we've done that, we've got to get this into the oven nice and fast. All right. So back to the oven we go. Here we go. I've got to be careful not to spill this. So I'm going into the kitchen right now. Here we go. Into the oven. Ugh. There. No chaos. At least not yet. Also, the smoke alarm didn't go off either, so that's also good. But there we go. Whoops. So that again is here. I'll show this to you again anyway. The Year of the Dragon skillet, which we have just christened, or whatever the equivalent of christening is. Yeah, because yay, happy May Day. This is going to be our May Day celebration tonight. Let me see. Let me try to get you a nice close up of this pan as well. So anyway, and just as important, here again is the bag from the Lodge skillet cornbread. This one says, "I'll be your favorite, your new favorite." Yeah, because it's a honey cornbread. Yuck, yuck, yuck. All right, I know that's a cheap shot, but as I said, they're obviously making this thing to appeal to everybody because they are selling this in Walmart already. It's a good thing Lodge already has connections at Walmart because they're able to get their cornbread mix into Walmart. Like I said about the Rubbermaid story earlier today, at least Lodge is able to sell their things at Walmart. Anyway, the ingredients: enriched wheat flour, sugar, cornmeal. It does have cornmeal in it. So it's a combination of cornmeal and sugar. I'm sorry, cornmeal and flour, sugar, cornmeal, sugar, and honey blend powder, which is cane sugar and honey. There's no high fructose corn syrup for anybody who cares about that. Leavening agent, sodium acid pyrophosphate, sodium bicarbonate, cornstarch, monocalcium phosphate, natural honey flavor, and salt. So in other words, it does actually have natural honey in it, contains wheat, and contains a bioengineered ingredient. Okay. So anyway, this is the Lodge cornbread mix. I suppose you might consider it to be higher quality than Jiffy, but then again, obviously that's what they intended. Especially since it is a little bit more expensive uh, co- than um, than the Jiffy mix. This package, in fact, was $6, 5.95. Although at the festival, Lodge was selling it at buy two get one free. So, especially these days, if you're getting something fancy, I guess that's not a bad price. If you want cheap, yes, you can buy Jiffy. Although you'd have to get at least two, maybe three boxes of Jiffy mix to equal the amount that we got out of this. So anyway, I said 20 to 25 minutes, which means I put it in at a little past 9 o'clock. So this is going to come out of the oven at maybe about 9 to 9:25. Susie wills it. Well, I hope so. All right, shipping for you. Breaking in a new skillet. Yes, that's exactly what we're doing, Ronald. I have just broken in, and I am breaking in the new Year of the Dragon skillet. And I'm definitely going to be using it a lot more than tonight, too. Susie, it's fun with cast iron night and making cornbread. Yeah, exactly. It's fun with cast iron night. How was the cornbread at the festival? Which was your favorite? Okay, here's some blasphemy. No, that's not true. I did have cornbread at the festival. However, the truth is, I stayed away from the carny vendors. I'm sorry to say. I looked at it, I drooled over it. I did not buy the food at the festival. Why? Because I'm trying to cut down. I'm sorry to say that it's the truth. I am trying to cut down, and that means I have to avoid greasy and fatty foods. So I'm regretting that I have to say that, but I have to say that. So I did not get the carny food there. I did get a couple of free samples of cornbread, though. There were several charities, especially the town cheerleader squads, giving away free samples of cornbread. But of course you can make a donation. Yeah, and yeah, I did. So I got to try some chocolate corn fritters, which were good. Some jalapeno cornbread, but that was about all I ate. So I mean, the carny vendors they have at that place are amazing. I mean, you could get if well, pretty much if it's fried, you can get it there. They had fried chicken. They had burgers. They had fries. They had buckets of fries. They had your old bloomin' onion. They had plenty of those. They had plenty of fried dough. They had plenty of funnel cakes. And the meats they had there, they had corn dogs. They had sausages. They had cornbread sausages. They had chicken on a stick. They had pork on a stick. They had gator on a stick. They were making huge, of course, huge bags of kettle corn. They were making huge bags of pork rinds, chicharrones. I think some of them were genuine chicharrones, and I think some of them were the kind that you buy in the grocery store in Dollar General and all that. Not that there's anything wrong with those either. I mean, we've eaten those, and then they may not be genuine. They may not be genuine. Whatever. Pork belly, but they're still pretty. They're still pretty good too. I mean, what can I say? It is a huge, and I mean huge carnival, and it's a food festival. So there was all kinds of food to be had there. And no, I didn't get any because I'm trying to eat healthy. However, if you want to splurge, and would be a good place to splurge, I am not dissing anybody for buying that stuff. I really wanted to buy that stuff. I love that stuff. Oh, I love that stuff. But oh man, was that food amazing to look at and to smell. Yeah, they had turkey legs too. So, okay. Corey, Krusty's is good stuff. Churros, they had plenty of that. Yes, they had churros. They had real deal. The real deal chicharrones have meat on them. Well, guess what? They had that. They had the real deal chicharrones. You can't have a true old Southern festival without fried food or barbecue being sold. Oh, they had tons of barbecue. This was Tennessee, of course. They had tons of barbecue. That's what I mean. That stuff, oh man, did that ever look tempting? Ah, how could you resist? What did you eat? Yeah, I know. I made sure to eat in order to make up for it. Let's just say that. So, sheesh. Ah, I know, I'm sorry. I need to apologize because I tried my best to eat healthy, but I still managed to do it. Yeah. Nonetheless, okay. Um. Oh yeah, Belto. You saw the photos in my that I posted on Facebook. On my way there, I also visited in Hanover, Pennsylvania, the UTZ, the Utz food, the chips factory. Because I went to Hanover to go to one of the best antique malls in the area. And I've posted about this on Facebook in Pennsylvania, in Hanover, Pennsylvania, not too far from Gettysburg. Yes, I did go to Gettysburg too, but the place I wanted to go to, Gettysburg, was actually closed because they're doing construction there. Anyway, Hanover, Pennsylvania is has one of the best antique malls, at least in that area. I've seen other huge antique malls, but this one was a pretty darn good antique mall. It's called the Black Rose in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. Some of you may have been to it because it's a pretty popular place. And there was some good cast iron to be found there. Even some of them were at pretty good prices too. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm glad I went, and I posted pictures from it. I somehow managed to resist temptation again, and I didn't buy anything there, but it was still a really good place to visit. However, only as I was driving away, only a few blocks from it, in fact, was the Utz chips factory. And they have a factory store, and they sell huge containers and bags of Utz chips and Utz pretzels and Utz popcorn, and at dirt cheap prices, way cheaper than you can buy them in the store. So I made an excuse, and I got some stuff there, and I gave them away to my friend's family. Like that huge bucket of cheese balls that they sell at Walmart, for instance. That was $5. Or huge bags of Utz kettle chips. That was $2. You never see those for $2. So yeah, I'm glad I went. And yeah, I did my best to resist temptation. However, I figure it's worth mentioning just because, again, we were talking about food at the festival. So yeah, um, how long was the driving time? The driving time took 2 days. On between Thursday and Friday, I took my time and I did a lot of browsing. So my hotel in both times was in Radford, Virginia, which is about 500 miles from my home and about 350 miles from the festival. So it's a little more than the halfway point. I took my time on Thursday, and it took me 12 hours to get from my home to there, which wasn't bad because, as I said, I got to see things, like the Utz factory and the antique malls and Gettysburg and all that. Then on Friday, I left and went well, I did more browsing. That was when I visited the Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and I mentioned that already, as well as I looked through the antique malls in the areas of Sevierville and Knoxville and all that. And I saw some nice stuff and somehow managed to resist temptation. Yeah, believe it or not, I'm proud of myself because for the most part, I resisted temptation on this trip. Mostly, mostly I did, except for Cracker Barrel and and the festival. So yeah, the driving was good. It rained on the way up. The trip home was picture perfect sun, and it was hot too. So I was driving with the windows down on the way home. So yeah, this was all a lot of fun. That's really what it all comes down to. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the hell out of this trip. I am glad I made this trip because it was a lot of fun. Not just because I mean I went to a great festival, a food festival. I saw the Lodge factory store and I saw the Lodge cast iron museum, and they were all fantastic. And I got this cast iron here, which was fantastic. And I met so many great people. Oh, how could I forget? William Hurt, are you still here? I got these. Yeah, I met William Hurt, a nice guy. I met him at the Lodge Museum, and he gave these to me. He's told me he gave these to me as a gift. He had made them on his lathe, and I'm very very grateful for these. These are very nice ornaments that I'll be hanging up. He calls these the chaos needles of creation. Yeah, I actually remembered that. So yeah, I, among this is among some of the great stuff I got at the festival. So yeah, I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of great people. That's probably the most important thing: meeting all that great people and having a lot of fun. Not to mention making this incredible score, which I was not expecting at all. So yeah, I'm so grateful for that. The more I look at this, the more I think, in fact, this was two pieces. They probably took a second piece and stuck it in as the iron was cooling. But nonetheless, what can I say? This was a great time. I mean, it's going to take a lot to top this for as much fun as I could possibly have this year. The only thing I can think of that I'm planning for this year that might actually equal it is that, like around maybe late July or August, I'm planning to take a trip to New York City, especially to see the Metro Museum of Art. My friends and I are going to go there, and we're going to go to the cloisters and the Met. We're going to spend a weekend doing that. And that, I have little doubt, is going to be a lot of fun. But this was a lot of fun. I am so glad I went. And I'm glad to be able to talk to you, all of you folks, about this. And I really hope I'm not boring you to death saying just how much fun the festival was. Well, what can I say? Next year, go. Try to make arrangements. Don't go overboard. I mean, again, I use this as an excuse to go on a road trip. I did not specifically go to the National Cornbread Festival because I'm sure your town has one of those city street festivals at some point. Here in Binghamton, we have Speedy Fest, for instance, which is going to happen later this year. But as an excuse to go on a road trip, the whole thing was a lot of fun. The festival was fantastic. I mean, the driving was fun. It's driving. What can you say? Most of it's boring, but it was fun. Seeing the sights was fun. The antique malls, Gettysburg, the Utz factory, the other antique malls, the Smoky Mountain Knife Works, the factory antique mall on the way home. That was all a lot of fun. So I am so glad I went. I was plumb exhausted when I arrived home on Tuesday evening. So exhausted that I just collapsed. And I spent yesterday, in fact, just doing rest and recovery. And I'm glad I did too. But this was a great trip. I mean, I loved it. So you never give back. Oh, my dogs are guarding my cast iron. It really looks like it was fun. Visiting the Lodge Museum looks great, plus the factory store. Yeah, exactly. If you're a cast iron user, and because you're on my channel, you probably are, you would love the Lodge store. And the museum is a bonus, quite frankly, but it's a great bonus. So, yeah, next time I go, I'm going to try to find a way to do either a live video or maybe a recorded video so that of having a nice long discussion in front of that big wall of cast iron at the Lodge Museum. There's so much we could talk about, the history of all those pieces there. So yeah, that's going to be a plan for next year. I'm starting to smell some cornbread, and it's 20 past 9. I think I better check it. All right, let's move this out of the way, and let's get this thing, shall we? Oh yeah, I better get out a toothpick too. So let's go here. Right now I'm just digging out a toothpick. Got it. And now, here we go. Put on my glove. Let's see what we got. Ooh, this looks interesting. This looks very interesting. Uh-oh, it's not done yet. I can tell already. It's jiggling. Let's try the toothpick. Oh yeah, no, this is nowhere near done. Ow, 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 hot, 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 hot. Holy cow, this thing is going right through the glove. Oh, okay. That looked great, but it is nowhere near done. I'm thinking it might even take about another 10 minutes. Okay. So I couldn't even get it in here to show you, I'm afraid. But as I said, the top was jiggling. It was definitely nowhere near done. So just got to have patience. Okay. And they're beautiful. Yeah, I was excited about them. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, Corey, I'm sorry to say. Yeah, my condolences, Corey. Okay, get your butter out. Not yet for him, Morris. But it will happen. I mean, as I said, I'm waiting about another 10 minutes, so we're talking 9:30. All right, with Honey Badger, probably doesn't remember my friend met E-Dubs. Oh, at the festival, and they called me. Um, as I said, I have got such problem matching names to faces. I did meet a number of great people from Facebook and from this channel here too. In fact, yes, Cynthia Wesley has told me already that she is looking specifically for a particular skillet. And I actually had that with me, but I didn't learn that until after I came home. So, no, not this one. Ugh. So, anyway, Cynthia, if you're here, I do believe this is a little dirty on the bottom. This is the one you're talking about. The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere. Okay. Yeah, I will make some arrangements so that we can get this to you. I don't know. I don't know what I'll sell it to you for. I don't know, $20, I guess. But we will let's talk again after this show is over. All right. Nonetheless, okay, where are we at this point? Sometimes jiggly tops are good, but that's another subject. Yes, it is, Rocky Caver. Not on cornbread. How about we just end it at that? Okay. Did you sleep with a ghost when your lights were flickering in the motel? Oh yeah, that with those lights. Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? One thing I love about going on these road trips is there's almost always something quirky about the motel room that I can laugh at, like that light, for instance. On the other hand, my room at the hotel at the Cornbread Festival, it was a nice hotel room. There were still a couple of things. The handle was half broken off on the door, and the door itself was out of alignment to the point where the only way to open that door was to really pull hard, and you had to slam the door to close it every single time. There was no way you could quietly close that door, but at least it locked and at least it closed. So at least that wasn't so bad. That hotel there, what I've stayed for at the Cornbread Festival is in Kimball, Tennessee. Right next door to South Pittsburgh. It's only like a 5-minute drive away, so no problem at all there. And that area of Kimball, Tennessee is interesting because, if you're a redneck and you grow up in that town, there is nothing you would not have to leave that town for anything, assuming you had a job, of course, because it has everything a redneck could ever want in his entire life, all within one general block of stores. We've got a Walmart, Waffle House, um, Cracker Barrel. We've got a Crystal. We've got a gas station. We've got a KFC. Yeah, and there's a pizza place too. Um, so pretty much you name it, it's all there. Oh yeah, and how can I forget? They've also got a giant fireworks store. All of this within the same area. So no matter what you want to do, if you want to get stuff at Walmart, you're there. If you want to eat at Cracker Barrel, you're there. You want to eat at Waffle House, you're there. You want to blow something up, you can go right there to the fireworks store. That place, that particular area there is redneck heaven, especially since the Lodge store is only just 5 minutes down the road. There's also a liquor store in the area too. So, yeah, everything that you can ask for is there. Okay, it's us, Dan and Cindy, looking for the Midnight Ride skillet. Yes, that's true, Papa Dan. I didn't forget that. Even though I have trouble matching names and faces, I have not forgotten. Okay, all right. I know where I'm taking my next vacation. Yeah, Celine, 77 star 99. You won't regret it. I had a blast. And even though the Cornbread Festival is only once a year, and all of the rest of it is worth it, at least if you're a cook or a cast iron fanatic or both. If you're a cast iron lover, you can go to the Lodge Factory store any time of the year, and you will be in heaven. Likewise, if you're a cook, they've got great stuff for cooking there. Other than that, of course, as I said, if you want to do a vacation, do what I did. Roam through the area. Oh, in fact, better yet, if you just want to roam through the area, you don't even have to go to South Pittsburgh. You can go to Sevierville. I mean, those of you who've been to Sevierville will know what I'm talking about. Sevierville is like one of the biggest tourist trap cities I think I've seen outside of New York City. Because in Sevierville, they've got everything there. They've got the Smoky Mountain Knife Works. They've got tons of antique shops. They've got a giant flea market there. They've got a Lodge cast iron store right next door to the Smoky Mountain Knife Works. All of that great stuff is there in Sevierville. So, in fact, if you want to take the time and visit the Lodge store, you'll love it. But at the same time, if you just want to go to a vacation in the area, there's Sevierville. So that's a suggestion. All right. Anyway, oh yeah, Sevierville has Dollywood too. Oh, let me mention something else too. Of course, at the Lodge Factory store, they had a right there when you walk in the door. There was their big display of the Dolly skillet, of course. Well, I heard from them that apparently the Dolly skillets are a huge hit. Apparently, they are selling like hotcakes. They're making money hand over fist with those Dolly skillets. Everybody loves them. So that means at least we can be sure that Lodge is going to be making those Dolly skillets for a long time yet, which means you've got time to get yourself a Dolly skillet. And so I think that's good news. All right, what are we now? We're at 9:28, maybe about Seaver. Okay, Seaverville or Sevierville. Okay, I hear you, Bets. I hear you, Bets. I hear you, Bets. Sevierville. I will remember that. Okay. I mean, what can I say? I'm not from the area. I have trouble pronouncing it. Just like folks from elsewhere have trouble pronouncing the towns in Massachusetts. Like Worcester, for instance, or Billerica. I had trouble. Okay, I admit I mispronounced Sevierville. 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 Okay, yes, I got it wrong. I apologize. I will pronounce it right from now on. Okay. Oh, I'm starting to smell that. I think I'm going to have to check it now. All right, here we go again. Let's go and get that cornbread once again. Oh yeah, this looks much, much better. It was way underdone before, but now I think we've got it. Take a look at this, folks. Ooh, that's hot. Give me a second and let's get a close-up of this. Here we go. Now that's cornbread. All right. Ow. Hot, hot, hot. That is hot cornbread. Ouch. No, that's a hot pan. Who am I kidding? All right. Yeah, we got it. Okay, we're good. Oh, one last thing about the instructions. All in one part of the instructions, it says, remove from oven and quickly run a knife around the edge of the skillet to help loosen the cornbread. Turn the cornbread out of the skillet onto a cutting board. It does not say to let it rest in the pan. Rather, it says, let it cool for 15 minutes before cutting and serving. So you can actually cut out your cornbread immediately when it comes out of the pan, which is what I'm going to have to do. And I just realized I forgot a knife. Let me get a knife. And a plate. You know, a plate would be nice too, wouldn't it? Okay. And it actually says to turn it out onto a cutting board. Hey, I've got a cutting board right here. Okay. Well, let's just get the knife. All right. Here's the knife. All right. Here we go. That means, just drop my glove. All right. Okay. Well, let's try to do this right, shall we? All right, run a knife around the edge. Well, that's looking pretty good. All right. Move this and 1, 2, 3. It's sticking. Seriously? Okay. You gotta be kidding me. Oh man, this stuck badly. All right. Nuts. Wouldn't you know it? The first time I make this stuff and it's stuck. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, this stuck badly, in fact. I'm gonna have to stick something under it before I can flip it over again. Ah, nuts. But you know what, folks? This is what I get for following those instructions and not doing it the way we normally do it. So I'm going to have to take that into consideration. Now, what am I going to do now? Well, that's what we'll do. Here's a tray. All right. Well, that's actually interesting. I mean, after all, I followed those instructions right to the letter. I did have to cook it for an extra 10 minutes, but look at this. Here's a piece that came off already. In fact, let's try eating this. That's not bad. Okay. Well, what do I do now? Oh yeah. Turn it back over. There it is. Well, okay, at least it's all cracked now, but at least I still managed to get it in one piece. Okay. Yep, brand new pan. I will disagree there, Rocket Caver. I have made cornbread in a brand new pan before, but I did it the way that you're supposed to do it. You know, where you use oil, you heat up the oil, and then you and that's how you manage to get a non-stick skillet. In this case, I'd have to say that baking spray did not work. But this is only my first time trying this. Let's see. Maybe I'll try again. Fool that I am. Maybe I should have waited a couple of minutes before turning it out. Even though it said to turn it out right away, maybe I should have waited a couple of minutes. So you know what? Let's try this. let's see what happens now, shall we? And it fell apart. So much for that. Yeah, this thing definitely stuck. No question about that. Oh well. Uh, I'm a little disappointed, but not really upset. Because what can you do? Yeah, bottom of it is a little hot, a little bit burned. I think what this means is the next time I make the lodge, this is getting hot. This is getting hot. Ow. Ugh. The next time I make the lodge cornbread mix, I'm going to try doing it my way. You know, the recipe I've been using to make cornbread for years. Definitely dark on the bottom, too. Mm. Yeah, it's very slightly charred on the bottom. But on the whole, it's not that bad. So, anyway, here's our cornbread. What can you do? We can eat it. That's what we can do. And that's what we're going to have to do. All right. But there we go. Okay. Pour chili over it. Yes, exactly. Fried cornbread, just about. Could have been the spray that made it stick. You know, that's certainly possible. Go with full synthetic next time. All right. Now, like I said, the next time I'm going to do it the way I normally do it. And just simply instead of using my regular mix, I will use the Lodge mix. And we'll see how that turns out. That's going to have to be a cooking project for pretty soon. I don't know, maybe tomorrow. I might be able to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, I have to mow my lawn for the first time this year, but maybe there will be time after that to try making more cornbread. Nonetheless, there we go. So, what can I say? Let me move this up a little bit so that. There you go, folks. This, in fact, is my story of my trip to the 2024 National Cornbread Festival, complete with some burned cornbread at the end. But on the whole, I've enjoyed myself tonight because I got some great stuff. And more importantly, tonight, I've had the chance to talk with you about all that. Not to you, but with you. So thank you very much because this has been a lot of fun. I'm really glad to have been able to show off these things, especially since you're going to be seeing a lot more of this lid in the future. I can promise you that. We're going to be seeing a lot of this good old Lodge lid here. This is going to be something special. And well, now we've got to eat some cornbread tonight. But most importantly, as I said, I've had a chance again to spend an evening with you folks. So thank you very much. Thank you everybody for taking the time to watch here as I rambled on and on and on about the festival and about cast iron and about this lodge mix. Uh, you know, if the second one turns out bad, even if I try it a different way, I'm not so sure. I might just simply go back to making cornbread from scratch. Who knows? But even so, let's do it. Okay. And it's our time now, as it is. We are getting on with it. Hello, Southern Vermont grown, really, or VT grown. I have an odd piece of cast iron. Is there a place that can help with figuring out what it is? Is old Japanese sign? Oh, that's interesting. We have seen Japanese made pieces. There's my Facebook page, Cast Iron Chaos. There is the Cast Iron Cooking group on Facebook. There are several groups as well for one called Cast Iron Identification. And much as I may regret saying this, there is a Facebook group called Cast Iron Experts. As you can see, I'm a little reluctant to name them, but I will name them. And I'm not going to say any more about that. However, as I said, if you want to look me up on Facebook, again, you can go to my Facebook page, Cast Iron Chaos, and I'll do my best to help you. And then, of course, there's the Cast Iron Cooking group on Facebook, which, as you know, I've been a member of since the beginning. So those are two great places to visit if you want to try identifying cast iron, and I hope that helps. But nonetheless, as well, to everybody else too, To Clico, we were rewarded with last minute chaos. Yes, exactly. That you got some chaos after all. How about that? What a surprise. Maybe you could find a 100-year-old pan for that new old lid. Yeah, you never know. Maybe it might give me an excuse to start looking for an Arc logo lodge to go with the lid, or heaven forbid, maybe even a Dutch oven. Like the one that I bought at the Cornbread Festival, and that's about the only thing I regret from this trip. But even so, yeah, thank you as well to Cynthia Wesley, and yes, thank you. I'm glad I made it back safe, and I'll be talking to you about that skillet. Jim F. Well, yeah, this is exactly this. I guess is one reason why folks keep coming back to this channel, because I have a lot of fun doing this, even when things don't turn out right. That happens every so often. I mean, you see that yourself. On the other hand, when things do go out right, then it's really, really exciting too. And I'm really glad when that happens. But I'm especially glad as well to be able to do all this live here with you folks here, because you folks here are the ones who make this all so much fun. And it's why I like to keep doing this week after week. And I intend to keep on doing that as well. So I can only thank everybody, as always, for being kind enough to be here tonight. For all you folks like different way, forget all the sprays and weird oils. My grandmother used bacon grease. Lodge let you down. Well, um, I'm not okay. I will say that again. This was definitely made for your typical Walmart cooking audience. Um, so I will try making it a different way next time, and we'll see how it all turns out. But thank you still as well to Papa Dan and to Ronald Coward and Jim F. and Corey Clark and Southern VT Grown, or is it Vermont Grown? I'm not sure. Made an apple pie in my 9-inch earring. Nice. And I'm so glad about that. Thank you very much. That's really what I especially like, when somebody tries one of my recipes, and especially if you enjoy it. And thank you. And good night as well to Hog Wild Cast Iron Restoration and Patricia Parsons, Rick Stumbow, and Granny Graham. Good night, everybody. And Jimmy Langford and Kimberly Miller and Alma Wasilewski. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to be here, because we are all going to do this next week. And with any luck, whatever we make next week, I still have to figure that out. But with any luck, it'll be a little bit more successful. I will do my best to make certain of that. But until then, well, get ready for the weekend, everybody, where we'll all have some fun cooking. And then we will all come back again and do it all next Wednesday. And that's why I can only end this, well, the way I like to end it every week. See you next Wednesday.